This is lesson 2.f. We're going to be learning how to loop in Java with either the for or the while statement. So suppose we want to do something more than once in our program, like print out the numbers from 1 to 5, or do some processing for all of the students in our gradebook, or send out a bill to all of the Visa account holders in our database. We could repeat the code every time. We could do something like I equals 1, system.out.println, the next number is I. Then I equals 2 and do it again. Then I equals 3 and do it again. Obviously, this is tedious when I'm doing it 5 times, and it's impossible if I'm doing it for all 1 million Visa card account holders. So Java and most programming languages have ways to loop through a number of statements more than once. Write the statement once as a programmer, but have it execute more than once. The two ways we're going to learn about today are the for loop, F-O-R, and the while loop. Let's look at the for loop first. A for statement, as in this example, consists of the word for, and then in parentheses, 3 different statements separated by semicolons. Here I've got I equals 1, I less than or equal to 5, and I plus plus. That says, initialize a variable. Here my variable is I, and I'm going to give it a starting value of 1. Now, I has to be a valid variable. So somewhere before this for statement, I had something that said int I, or double I, something that made I a number. Then I less than or equal to 5. That's a condition that, as long as it is true, I'll continue repeating all the statements in my for loop. So I'm going to start with 1, and as long as I is less than or equal to 5, I'm going to keep repeating. And then I've got something that changes the value of I. I plus plus, which you remember from an earlier video, means make I be 1 bigger, increment I by 1. So what this is going to do is set an initial value of I to 1, go through all the statements in the for loop, and at the end of each time through, it's going to add 1 to I, and then check, is I less than or equal to 5? If it is, it'll go through it again and add 1 to I again. And then check, is I less than or equal to 5? So what's going to happen here? I is going to equal 1, I'll go through the loop. Then I is going to equal 2, I'll go through the loop. I is going to be 3, I is going to be 4, I is going to be 5. I will have gone through this loop 5 times, printing out next number is 1, next number is 2, and so on. Finally, I will have a value of 6, and I'll fail that test, I less than or equal to 5. Now, what gets included in the for statement? Which statements get executed more than once? It's whatever statement comes after the line that says for, or if I want to do more than one statement, I could include them within braces, as I've done here. In this case, since I only have one statement, the braces are optional. It's a good habit to always put the braces in, because then when you add more statements, you won't worry about whether you've put it in or not. So here's the general syntax of the for statement. For, and then in parentheses, the initialize clause, the test clause, and the update clause. Close the parentheses. Notice, no semicolon at the end of those parentheses. Then one statement followed by a semicolon. Then I have the option of doing for, and in parentheses, initialize clause, test clause, update clause, with no semicolon at the end of the parentheses. And then if I use braces, I can have an entire block of statements. Remember that semicolon problem, just like we talked about for if statements. If I put a semicolon at the end of those parentheses, I'm going to regret it. So here's a couple more examples. In the first one, I say for int j equals 0. Okay, now I'm actually declaring j as int j. It means j doesn't have to have been declared before this for statement. It's being declared right here. The scope of it is j is defined for this entire block of statements in the for. After I'm done with the for loop, j is no longer defined. But if all I'm using it for is a counter within my for loop, then I can do for int j here. I always had the option of doing int j before the for, but this is a common way to do things. So for int j equals 0, j is going to start with a value of 0. What's the condition that I'm putting in there for a test? j% not equal to 9. Do you remember what all of that means from an earlier video? j% means what's the remainder when you divide j by 10? So 0% 10 is 0, 1% 10 is 1, and so on. As long as it's not equal to 9, I'm going to keep going through this loop. And then each time through the loop, at the end of it, I'm going to add 1 to j because of the j++ statement. So what's going to happen here? J will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But as soon as it equals 9, j%10 will have a value of 9. I'll fail the test saying not equal to 9, and I'll get out of the loop. So I will have executed this for all the integers between 0 and 8. Now let's look at the next one. For int k equals 0, I'm going to start with k having a value of 0. As long as k is less than 20, I'm going to keep going. And instead of just doing a plus plus adding 1 each time, I'm doing k plus equals 5. What does that mean? K is going to be 0, then 5, then 10, then 15. All of those will work because they're less than 20. Finally, k will have a value of 20. It's no longer less than 20, and I exit the loop. So I will have executed this for 0, 5, 10, and 15. Now, another type of loop, instead of a for loop, is called a while loop. And in a while loop, instead of having 3 clauses, like in the for loop, we get 1 clause only, and it's just a test. So here, I've said, okay, give me a variable called j, make it equal to 0. And now I have my while statement. While j is less than 10, that's the test that's going to happen. As long as that condition is true, and it's going to start out being true, because 0 is certainly less than 10, then either the next statement or the next block of statements, if I enclose them in braces, like I did in this example, will get executed over and over and over again, as long as j is still less than 10. So somewhere in that block of statements, I better change the value of j, or else I've got an infinite loop. I'll get into the while loop, and I'll never get out. Let's see if we did it properly. Okay, I'm going to print out j is, and then the value of j. So the first time through, I'll print out j is 0. Then I do j++. Go back. Is j less than 10? Well, j now has a value of 1. Yes, it's less than 10. So I'll print out j is 1. Add 1 to it. Go back. My value is 2. That's still less than 10. So I'll print out j is 2. I'll keep doing this. J is 3. J is 4. Finally, I'll print out j is 9. Add 1 to j. J has a value of 10. I go up to the top, and I see, is 10 less than 10? No, it's not. So I exit the loop, and I'll do whatever comes after this while loop. The syntax of the while loop is simpler than the syntax for the for loop. All I have is one condition inside the parentheses instead of the 3 for the for loop. However, it's a little bit more dangerous because if I don't choose to update something inside my loop, I can easily get into an endless loop. What's the syntax of the while statement? Pretty easy. While parentheses test, one statement, or while parentheses some test, that's anything that can evaluate to either true or false, a block of statements. Let me give you this warning again. Be sure to do something in the body of your while loop to make sure you eventually will get out of the loop. Java is perfectly happy sitting there going over and over and over again without ever exiting. You won't be as happy as Java is. Now here's some more while examples. This time I'm going to say create a Boolean variable. I'm going to call it first, and it's going to start out with a value of true. My loop is going to be while first, do some statements, and then change the value of first to false. So the first time through this loop, first is true. I'll do those statements. The second time through the loop, first is false, so I exit. So this looks like a loop, but it's only going to execute one time. How about the next one? I'm going to have a variable called sum, and it equals 0, a variable called count, and it equals 1. And while count is less than or equal to 10, I'll go through all the statements in those braces. Sum equals sum plus count. So I'll add 1 to the 0 that was already in sum. Then I'll print it out. The sum of the first 1 numbers is 1. Add 1 to count, go again. Count now has a value of 2. Is that less than or equal to 10? Of course it is. So then I go sum equals sum plus count. Now I'm adding 2 to the 1 that was there before. I'll print out the sum of the first 2 numbers is 3. Add 1 to count. Count is now 3. The sum of the first 3 numbers is 6. The sum of the first 4 numbers is 10. I'll keep going until I've printed out what the sum of the first 10 numbers is. I think that's 55 if my mental arithmetic is correct. Then count gets incremented again. Count is now 11. I fail the test because it's not less than or equal to 10, and I exit the loop. Now here's the warning like we had with if statements. Don't put a semicolon at the end of the conditions for the for or the while, because if you do that, this first loop doesn't say print out hello 10 times. It says go through a loop of doing nothing 10 times, then print out hello once. Probably not what you had in mind. Watch out for a semicolon at the end of the for conditions. Or the next one, you might be wanting to print out hello 10 times with a while loop. This doesn't do it. Set j equal to 0 as long as j is less than 10. Do nothing. What's going to happen? J is less than 10, do nothing, come back. J is still less than 10, do nothing, come back. J is still less than 10, do nothing, come back. This is an endless loop of doing absolutely nothing. Your program will never stop, and you'll never even print out hello for the first time. An easy mistake to make because it looks right to the human eye, but watch out for those semicolons after the parentheses for the conditions on either a for or a while loop.